Sometimes, the simplest moments are the ones that fans remember the most. Not because of something big or dramatic, but precisely because of a small honesty that feels very human. And that's what happens when Jimin sits back, answering question after question in his signature style, short, quick, but always with a touch that makes people smile. At first, the atmosphere was light. Like a regular question and answer session. No high expectations, no signs of going viral. But it's precisely from there that everything feels more natural. The camera goes, Jimin looks relaxed, and fans start sending in questions they might have kept for a long time. The first question came up, a little random but quite curious: why don't you like mango? At first glance, this sounds like one of those little rumors that come out of nowhere. Maybe there are fans who have seen his expression when eating mangoes, or maybe it's just an assumption that develops itself in the community. But Jimin's response immediately broke all that speculation in a way that was very typical of him: I like mango. Next. Hurry up. Firm. And without drama, but that's precisely where the appeal lies. The way he responded was not merely a clarification. There is a light tone, a little wonder, but also funny. It was as if he himself was at a loss as to why the question had arisen. Fans who watched immediately laughed. Because they know this is not the first time that such a small rumor has appeared, and most likely not the last either. However, what makes this moment special is how Jimin is not trying to extend or make it into something big. He just answered honestly, and then went straight ahead. Next. One simple word, but it is enough to keep the rhythm of the conversation alive, and that is part of its charm. Then, the next question came: Jimin can swim. This time, the reaction was not much different. There are no long pauses, no additional long-winded stories: I can swim. Next. Again, briefly. But that's exactly where the fans feel close, because behind that simple answer, there is a sense of authenticity. Not made up. Not trying to look more attractive than you really are. He doesn't feel the need to prove anything or give long explanations. He simply answered, as it is, and interestingly, precisely because of such simplicity, fans began to imagine other little things. Like, how was Jimin while swimming? Is he the relaxed type who enjoys the water, or the active and playful one? Do you prefer the ocean or the pool? Little questions that may never really be answered, but enough to keep fans' imaginations going. On the other hand, moments like this also show Jimin's very relatable side. In a world where idols often look perfect, a session like this opens up a small gap that shows that he's also human. Someone who likes mangoes, who can swim, who answers questions casually without needing to think too much about the image. Maybe that's what keeps the fans going, not just because of talent or looks, but because of little moments like this. A moment in which he feels close. It feels real. Some fans even began to rediscuss the answer on various platforms. Not because the information is important, but because of how to answer. Some imitate next in a joking style, some make video edits, some even make the moment a small meme in the community, and without realizing it, something initially very simple turns into something alive. That's the power of an authentic personality. Jimin didn't have to put in a lot of effort to create the moment. He doesn't need to come up with big stories or overreact. Sometimes just being yourself, honest, relaxed, and a little playful, is enough to make people feel connected. Interestingly, the fast rhythm in answering questions also gave the impression that he really enjoyed the process. No pressure. No load. Just a light conversation between him and the fans, and in every next that he utters, there is some kind of sign that he is ready to continue to hear and continue to share, albeit in a very simple form. In a world that is often full of high expectations and big highlights, moments like this feel like a nice little respite. Like a breath of fresh air in the midst of all the complex things. Fans do not always need something spectacular. Sometimes, they just want to see the honest little side. And Jimin, in his own way, managed to deliver that. So when people look back on this moment, about mangoes and swimming, they don't just see the short answer. They see personality. They see warmth. They see a person who, despite all his popularity, remains modest, and maybe that's why moments like this never really go away, because behind the small laughs and short answers, there is something deeper, something that makes fans feel, yes, this is it. This is Jimin we know. And when the screen finally stopped, when the questions were up, the one thing that remained was that warm feeling. The feeling that, even if only briefly, they had time to see a real little side. A simple moment. But enough to remember for a long time. And precisely after that moment ended, something interesting began to happen. Not on the screen, but out there, among the millions of fans who watch, repeat, and retalk every little second of the interaction, because oddly enough, the simpler a moment, the easier it is to repeat. And the more often it is repeated, the deeper the impression is left. Some fans began to notice details that previously might have been missed. Jimin's way of saying, I like mangoes, with a slightly raised tone, as if really wanting to make sure everyone knows that the rumors are false. Then the expression on his face, there is a slight smile, a slight bewilderment, but also a not far-fetched warmth, and of course, the word next. That one word turned into a kind of small signature in that moment. Many fans began to imitate him, not just as a joke, but as a form of closeness. It was as if they were in the same position, sitting relaxed, answering questions, and moving quickly from topic to topic carefree. Then a new question arises among fans: why does this moment feel so pleasant to watch? The answer may not be as simple as it seems, because underneath it all, there's something rarely seen in the idol world: the comfort of being yourself. No redundant filters. There is no effort to look perfect. Jimin was just present, answering, and moving forward, and it creates a very strong effect. Some fans even began to associate this moment with how Jimin has always been known as someone who is attentive and sensitive, but also has a light side that often appears at unexpected times. A side that is not always shown on the big stage, but rather appears in small moments like this. Imagine, amid a hectic schedule, global expectations, and pressure that never really goes away, she can still sit back and answer questions about mangoes without looking tired or distracted. That's no small thing, and maybe that's what makes a lot of people feel amazing, not just in his talent, but in his way of maintaining balance. Between being a great performer and still being a simple human being, the moment about swimming is no less interesting. The answer, "I can swim next," sounds normal. But for fans, it opens the door to a wide imagination. Some began to imagine Jimin on the beach, laughing with the other members. Some imagine him swimming leisurely in the sun, away from the glare of the cameras. There are even those who make fan art based on these shadows, depicting Jimin in a calm and free atmosphere. It all started with a short answer, and therein lies its strength, because sometimes, all it takes is a little information to trigger something bigger. Fans don't need a full story. They only need small pieces, and they will fill the rest with their imagination, emotions, and personal connections. Over time, this moment began to develop into something more than just a regular Q&A. He became a small symbol of how a simple interaction can create a broad impact. Several content creators began making compilations of Jimin saying next, combining various moments in which he showed his quick and relaxed side. There are also those who make a light analysis of how this style of communication actually makes idols feel closer to fans, and of course, there are those who simply enjoy the moment as it is, without analysis, without theory. Just laugh, smile, and feel a little closer. On the other hand, this moment also reveals something about the fans themselves. About how they appreciate the little things. About how they can find happiness in details that others might take for granted, because in the end, the relationship between idols and fans is not just about big concerts or global achievements. But it's also about little moments like this, that feel personal, even if they're shared with millions of people. And perhaps, without realizing it, Jimin has understood that for a long time, that not everything has to be big to mean anything, that sometimes, one honest answer is worth more than 1,000 planned words, that being yourself, with all its simplicity is enough. When we look back on this moment, we don't just see someone answering a question. We see someone present. That really existed at the time. Not stuck in expectations, not burdened by image, and that rarely happens, because in a world full of highlights, being authentic is difficult. But Jimin, in his own way, managed to do it, without seeming to be trying too hard, and perhaps, that's what keeps this moment alive, not because the question is important, not because the answer is extraordinary, but because of the feeling of abandonment, feeling of lightness. Warm. Real. As if, for a few minutes, everything seemed simpler, and in the midst of all the complexity of the world, such simplicity is something very valuable. So when fans came back to watch the clip heard, "I love mangoes really next," and "I can swim next," they do not just remember the words. They remember how they felt at that moment, and maybe, without them knowing it, that's why they keep coming back, because there, among those short answers, there is something that cannot be fully explained, something that can only be felt, and that's enough.